Welcome to Monday Returns. This is where I go through the performance over the last week in the ETF universe. Let's jump right into it. So last week, compared to some of the weeks we've had in the last month, 2 months really even, on the upside, not a huge week. Now, if you got this kind of performance out of your portfolio, you'd be very, very happy over a 1 week period. But in these individual names, not a huge week overall compared, again, to what we've been going through. What did well? International has a lot of names on this list. Vietnam, China, a lot of China, natural gas funds also did pretty well this week. But overall, nothing extreme, at least from the ETF universe. On the downside, this is where we see some of the bigger numbers this week. Obviously, with everything that's going on in the crypto world, ETFs focused on this sector have been beat up. Obviously this year they've been beat up very badly, but it just kind of gives you an idea of after a week where they, didn't give it all back. This week, as you can see, 10%, 8%, anywhere from 8% to 11%. Almost all of these are digital, blockchain, crypto related type funds. And then down on the bottom here is our break wave dry bulk shipping. And this is one that we see on these lists quite often on the downside and even sometimes on the upside. A highly volatile type fund. And really, I just wanted to kind of jump into this one a little bit and kind of give you an idea of what it is and how it moves and why anybody would add it to their portfolio. So looking at BDRY, it is a sector focused on volatility, but really what it is focused on the shipping, international shipping from Asia to America and all over the world, essentially. Very high expense ratio, 3.32%, one of the higher ones that are out there. From an AUM standpoint, $36 million. So not a huge fund by any means. And really, who owns it? So from the institutional buyers, Morgan Stanley is the biggest holder, but again, very lightly held. Some of the other big groups, USB Group, Jane Street Group, Bank of America, that's typically Merrill Lynch advisors. But again, these are very few shares compared to some of the other big ETFs out there. From a trading standpoint, why would you want to have this in your portfolio? Well, always when you're looking at building portfolios, is what do I get out of it? Do I get returns? Do I get low volatility? What am I doing to adding it? Well, with this fund, if you add this, you are adding volatility. Even a 5-day volatility of 35%. I mean, super, super, super high volatility. The further you go out, the higher the volatility gets. So, I don't know of a whole lot of people that build portfolios for a living that want to add volatility to their portfolio. But this is one where if you're jumping in and out, you are trying to time something and get a big bump one way or the other. As you can see over the last month, from a performance standpoint, it is down 8.5%, but it had a bump. So at one point, if you timed that correctly, you got a nice little bump. But with this, again, volatility is the name, and you will get burned with that. Looking over the last year, I mean, down 71% over the last 3 years. Not as bad, but as you can see, highly, highly volatile. Down 58% over the last 3 years. At one point, though, was up 129%. And as you can see, as shipping rates across the world into 2020, into 2021, this was a place to be to get some of those returns. Since then, as shipping has become less of an issue, you can see where this has gone. All from a highly volatile standpoint, whether you're going up or down, lots of volatility brought to it. From a flow standpoint within this fund, you can see over this last month, it actually has some cumulative flows over $7 million, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for this overall fund, that's a good chunk of money. That's about a fourth of them, almost a quarter of the money over the last month that has gone into this fund. But as you can see over the year to date, again, highly volatile from not only performance standpoint, but people getting in and out of this fund. And again, I think that's people just trying to time it on the upside. But You know, when you're trying to time things, more than likely, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it once correctly and wrong a lot of other times. So I don't know if this is something that you want to have in your portfolio, and definitely not in your portfolio over a long-term stance. Now, again, from into 2020 to 2021, this was the place to be. You know, if you wanted a high volatility, high return outlook, but you know, going forward, is this a place to have any of your money? I know I wouldn't put my clients' money into this, but it is interesting that you know it's around and people are putting money into it over the long term. So it's very, very interesting fun for me. Again, looking back, going back to the week, um, crypto was not the place to be. International, which has actually outperformed US markets so far this year, now barely, but so far, had a nice little week. And so we'll see what happens going into Thanksgiving and the holidays and kind of the short week of what happens from a return standpoint. But I'll be here to let you know. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and I hope you have a great weekend, Black Friday, and all your shopping you get done. Um, I'll talk.